I knew my family's roots lay in Georgia, so I knew slavery was likely part of the story. However, seeing my great-great-grandfather's name appear in murder logs designated unsolved was different. Learning about what happened to his land afterward was even crazier. James Monroe Ware was one of the wealthiest landowners in Twiggs County, Georgia, and he was not your typical Georgian. As a Whig, he supported federal grants, protective tariffs, and a national bank. These views set him apart in a region firmly defending states' rights and slavery. Ware's land was worth $8,100. This is equivalent to over $300,000 today. He also owned over 2,700 acres. Despite his status, his life took a dark turn in 1862. Ware, a white enslaver, fathered a child named Owen with Lucinda Davis, a woman he enslaved. That year, he faced a mysterious, brutal end. Murdered, with his case marked unsolved in the county's logs. As far as we can tell, no suspects were pursued, no trials held. This left questions and shadows over his death and the legacy of his vast estate. This story was crazy, and I kept coming back to it, particularly the part my father told me. My great-great-grandfather was murdered because he wanted to give his land to his black sons. Now, there is no way to prove this, but it is the ultimate what if. My ancestors' history shows a troubling reality. It was common for enslavers to have relationships with the people they enslaved. Influential writers like W.E.B. Du Bois, Pauline Hopkins, and T.T. Fortune reported that 1 out of every 3 people freed from slavery had at least one white parent or grandparent. Because of this, land ownership grew even more complicated, and many black people had their land taken or coerced from them. And even though the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments have helped black men and women gain freedom, rights as citizens, and the right to vote, the effects of slavery are still affecting us today. The reality is, America never came up with an economic plan for the newly freed. And land being stolen from black families was more common than you think. When my great-great-grandfather died, his land was divided amongst people who claimed he owed the money. And just like that, my family was left with nothing. What does justice really mean when we talk about history? One important concept is reparations. Some people worry that this means white people will be taxed to give money directly to black people. That is not true. It's just a way to scare people. Reparations are really about recognizing the wrongs done to black communities in the past and helping them recover. This could mean building schools or museums that celebrate black leaders and bring light to the stories of families like mine. Did you know that stolen lands from black families have been turned into sites like a country club in Virginia, oil fields in Mississippi, and baseball spring training facilities in Florida? Did you know, according to A Movement in Every Direction, a Great Migration critical reader, black people make up 72% of the population in Washington County, Mississippi, but only 11% own farmland. Guess who owns the most farmland in that county? The TIAA, one of the largest pension firms in the United States. So you're telling me that farms once owned by black people are now part of Teachers' Retirement Fund? Yes, it is that systematic. The reality is that many black families like mine had their land unjustly taken from them. And while we may have been incapable of preventing it, there are actually ways that justice might be achieved right now, today.